Hey guys, welcome to the special Patreon exclusive version of My Favorite Things Autumn 2021. I'm gonna leave a proper message at the end of this video because it will make more sense then than it does now. Okay, thank you. I'll see you at the end of the video. Okay, real quick. There is a new channel in the Discord server and it's Patreon video Q&A, and that's different from the regular question and answers channel because I'm going to be answering those questions in videos. I thought it was just like a more interesting way to kind of like be able to do this. I'm going to explain it properly in the video, but there's a link to that video in the Patreon post of this, so you should be able to see that. It's going to be like 20-25 minutes, so if you want to ask a question and have me answer it in a video, just leave the question in that channel. I won't be replying to people in that channel, but I will be answering every question. Okay, guys, enjoy the video. Thank you. Have you had a bad day and need some quick hits of dopamine? Well, I would recommend the short stop-motion animations of The Animist. To me, stop-motion animation is an art form reserved for the most patient and or psychotic among us. Yet there is a level of skill and just playfulness here that lets what should be simple animations with action figures flow with this breezy kinetic joy that God just explodes the pleasure centers of my brain. And adding to that feeling is low-key some of the most satisfying and tactile sound design on YouTube. I mean, just listen to this. If you are insane enough to want to get into stop motion yourself, they also create these really fascinating little making ofs that are great to just see how these videos come together, or if you're curious to know how someone could take a Chun-Li action figure, a can of Red Bull, somehow turn that into 8 million views and be deserving of every single one of them. MechaGameZilla is one of those creators with the uncanny ability to make a compelling video on basically anything, from the memorable Irish martial arts movie Fatal Deviation, to strange and terrible cookbooks, to the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'll get to you someday. I'll get to you. But the video of his that kind of blew me away recently was his infinite review of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I don't know that there is a more difficult series to write a video essay on in 2021 than Eva, a show that has been infinitely dissected and analyzed from what feels like every conceivable angle, but MechaGameZilla's 13-minute video is this brief and beautiful examination of what was at one time just a strange and obscure sci-fi cartoon for weirdos, and the alienation that comes with being one of those weirdos and watching it transform into one of the biggest licensed properties on the planet. Easily one of the most underviewed videos from one of the most underrated creators on this platform. You know what our job is here, my beautiful wolf pack. Rejoice, friends, as the third season of Gone in 60 Seconds is here, which, if you're unfamiliar, is an in-depth episode-by-episode breakdown of Hunter x Hunter that I have made in collaboration with my dear companion, Woolie Versus, in which we comb through every detail of every episode of the world's greatest shonen with a warmth and enthusiasm that could only come from a pair of best friends celebrating the series they both love. But don't take my word for it, take it away, Woolie!
I am so glad I started this series with my best friend John. It has been great and nothing frightening or traumatizing has happened at all.
Haha, fantastic. Find it now on Woolie Versus, links to everything I talk about in the description below. Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop is a movie with a very bad title, but with mind-blowing visuals. To the point that I can't even get mad that this is yet another suburban Japanese teenage adventure / romance story that ends with a girl and or boy passionately running at each other. Okay, look, Your Name was good, and Silent Voice was great, but I think we need to move on. Okay, look, I'm being reductive here. The story's fine, it's charming, but goddamn, look at this film. It has been a long time since a movie dragged me into its world with its visuals alone like this. I mean, look at how it takes this simple urban landscape and blows it out into this pastel neon dreamscape. how alive and expressive each character design is, and how weird, creative, and fun the movement of those characters is. It is rare I will recommend a movie on visuals alone, but it's so easy this time. A perfect Saturday morning watch that creates this beautiful, vibrant world for you to just get lost in. I like myself a good Star War. You've got your Darth Vaders, your Captain Picards, and your Dash Ketchums. I'm a big fan of animated anthologies. I think breaking a fictional universe open by allowing it to be filtered through the creative visions of multiple different studios is a fantastic way to breathe new life into an IP, and why I think Star Wars Visions is such a success. 9 Japanese studios make 9 animated shorts for the biggest sci-fi property on the planet, nearly all of which I really enjoyed. Nearly. Worth it for the sheer novelty of seeing Studio Trigger animate a lightsaber battle, but other standouts include the beautiful Tezuka-inspired 2B1, the gorgeously animated Lop and Ocho, and my favorite, The Duel, a beautiful piece of animated 3D insanity that also has this really interesting take on the Sith, who, for my money, have always been just the much cooler space wizard, but it's in experiencing little corners of the universe explored like this that makes Star Wars Visions so worthwhile, even if you are just a casual fan like me. So here's hoping that from this point, this series goes to infinity and beyond. I'm not going to waste your time by explaining to you why Demon Slayer Mugen Train, the most financially successful anime movie of all time, is worth seeing, but I just gotta talk about those last 30 minutes because holy sh**. This is the point of the movie where the plot is wrapped up, the big bad is defeated, and credits would likely roll on most other movies. But then, things just, well, keep going. A new foe emerges, and we are treated to one of the most beautiful, brutal, and lavishly animated showdowns you are likely to see this decade. I've talked about my love of fight scenes a lot on this channel. To me, there are few things in media more enjoyable than watching 2 characters' narratives meld as they beat the ever-living shit out of one another. The visceral violence knitting together a story of the ultimate fragility of human life and how that delicateness is what makes it beautiful, in an encounter that surges with the tenderness and tragedy that's made Demon Slayer such a special series. Have you ever dreamed of being a young Japanese law student defending the downtrodden in Victorian London? No? Well, shut the fuck up. After many years of complicated intellectual property stickiness, the great Ace Attorney Chronicles has finally made its way to English-speaking shores, and goddamn, it is fantastic. If you've never played a Phoenix Wright game, the idea here is that you must defend your client from being found guilty by interrogating witnesses and unearthing the inconsistencies in their testimony. And what makes this courtroom showdown really feel like a showdown is the care that's gone into bringing these characters to life. Little animated touches like Ryunosuke's gaze nervously darting around the room, or the tension on a witness's face when you begin to trap them in a lie, climaxing in the explosion of emotion when you finally reveal the truth. It's character design and animation that doesn't just reflect the already great writing, but adds to it, in a story that case by case creates a subtle critique of the cruelty, classism, and xenophobia of Victorian-era London. And to boot, I haven't even touched the second game in this collection, and this is already one of my favorite releases of the year. So my only objection would be if you didn't check this game out. Oh, that's a terrible way to end this segment. No More Heroes 3 should not exist. It's been 11 years since Suda51 and Grasshopper Studios released No More Heroes 2 on the Wii, and about half a decade since I gave up hope on the series ever returning. And yet somehow, we got to take one more walk through the Garden of Madness. Travis Touchdown's 3rd numbered title is the kind of sequel you wish for but so rarely becomes a reality. from its fully animated 7-minute opening cutscene to its bewildering penchant from switching from action game to first-person horror to visual novel to galactic space showdown to... I don't even know what this is. This is a game that surges with the idiosyncrasies and weirdness that made No More Heroes 1 so special, all while adding layers of mechanics onto the series' visceral, weighty death battles, making for a far more satisfying gameplay experience than any of Grasshopper's previous titles. And yeah, I loved this game, and in no small part because of new villain Fu. Basically, E.T. if he were a murderous fucking psychopath, and I adore him. It is bittersweet knowing that this will likely be Travis Touchdown's final game, but I am so proud of Suda and his team for building a far better gameplay experience than anything they've done before, while also bringing back No More Heroes and letting it go out in such a blazing spectacle. Oh my god. Wait, what's happening? Oh, it's the demon! This is all I've ever wanted, WWE. This is all I've ever wanted. Get him! Do it, friend! Do it! You can do it! We're taking this to the top! So AEW's been pretty good. From the evolution of its younger stars to its rapidly improving women's division, and of course, the cataclysmic return of CM Punk, which what more could I possibly add to that crowd reaction? But to me, the moment that's defined modern wrestling is Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. If you are not into wrestling and do not know how those 5 words could carry so much significance, these are 2 of the best wrestlers on the planet. This match being the story of Danielson, free from the WWE and now finally able to face someone on his level. Omega in an impossible dream match that began as a showcase of technical ability before devolving into a war that blurred the line between showmanship and violence. Omega brutalizing Danielson over and over for daring to step into the territory of the god of pro wrestling. And just as Danielson teetered on the brink of oblivion, he reaches down deep into his past, before the WrestleMania main events and world title reigns, back to the smoke-filled bingo halls of his early days, where every match was a war for survival. And only there, finding the will to stand against Omega in a story that was passionate, violent, and beautiful. I get that a 30-minute draw might seem like a disappointment, but to me, that was the perfect way to mark what this match was. Not a conclusion, but a beginning. Believe it or not, I try not to get too hyperbolic in these videos, but I do not know how you look at this match, a match given away on free television, and not feel like we have entered a new era of wrestling. Friends, thank you for watching. I hope you had a good spooky time with this video, and if you did and would like to help me make more like it,
Friends, thank you for watching. I hope you had a good...
Hello, friends. My, it's been a while, hasn't it? It is so good to see you again. I'm very sorry that the last time we tried to do a Halloween favorite things video, things went a little wrong. I'm feeling much, much better now, and I am so grateful for all your patience. I've met a lot of wonderful people in the last 2 years, and they've helped me realize something. Nothing is more important to me than my audience, and I care about each and every single one of you so much. You are all like family to me. And the important thing about family, well, it's that they do anything for each other. And all I ask of you is to just sit back and enjoy. I have so many wonderful things I'd like to talk to you about. If you want to dip into some spooky times but don't want to destroy your life too thoroughly, I'm going to recommend Scarlet Hollow. It's kind of got the vibe of one of those old Goosebumps books, but through the medium of point-and-click adventures. You play as an outsider traveling to the titular town before quickly discovering that, well, shit ain't right. But the real charm of this game comes from its sharp writing, which had me the moment I met this fucking asshole, and its illustrations, which are done by the comic book artist Abby Howard. Her character work beautifully channeling the charm of the game's writing into these extremely fun characters like your cousin who, oh god, is such an asshole and I love her, while also carving the town's identity from these gorgeous monochrome illustrations that give it a life and atmosphere that feels equally laid back and haunting. Scarlet Hollow is currently in early access, and while I did encounter a few bugs, it was nothing that would stop me recommending this creepy, cozy slice of spookiness. 6. So this year, James Wan, the creator of Saw, released his newest horror movie, Malignant. The first hour and a half of which are fine. The film looks really nice with some cool camera work and trippy editing, but just as Malignant was starting to feel like a very standard supernatural slasher, it's happened. And I am not going to tell you what it was, but here is a recreation of my reaction.
No, you can't do that. That's fucking insane. What the fuck am I watching?
And from this one moment, the entire film dive bombs into a kind of horrific lunacy that I could only liken to what if The Matrix Reloaded were a horror film and everyone involved had done just a little bit too much LSD. While it is too loony to put any higher on a list of things that are meant to be frightening, Malignant does create a genuinely shocking horror movie moment, and in doing so, a honestly kind of iconic new monster, both of which in 2021 are difficult things to do. It is a powerful and rare thing when a piece of horror can make you feel trapped in another world, but that is exactly what Emily Carroll's When I Arrived at the Castle does, telling the surreal and nightmarish story of a young woman being drawn into a vampire's castle, then slowly seduced and consumed by her otherworldly host. Each turn of the page dragging you into the surreal world of macabric madness. Sometimes you'll be greeted with a beautiful double-page spread, sometimes just stark white text layered on blood-red backgrounds, and sometimes, well, one of the most frightening page-turn scares I've ever experienced. It's rare to see an artist that has such a strong grasp of both the genre of horror and the medium of comics, but it's that combination that makes When I Arrived at the Castle such a delirious and intoxicating piece of horror. And it's also very gay. So that's fun. Also, seems like physical copies of this have become very rare and expensive. So to the person who gifted me this at a con, if you want it back, just get in contact because I feel bad. H.P. Lovecraft, or as I like to call him, Racist Howard and his Arbitoire of Oogly Booglies, Color Out of Space is one of my favorite stories of his. Told from the perspective of a classic Lovecraft second-person narrative, a man watches as the family of a nearby farmhouse encounters something beyond human, beyond understanding, that over the course of many weeks slowly consumes them in some of the most frightening and disturbing body horror ever committed to paper. This story is horrifying, while also having the advantage of keeping some of Lovecraft's proclivities to a minimum, and I have to be honest here, it is those proclivities that has me a little conflicted about this recommendation. I actually recently discovered that on top of everything, he believed Irish people weren't full humans, which, well, Well, fuck you, you dead weirdo. But that's not something I'm going to attempt to unravel here. I am, however, going to link to the phenomenal In Praise of Shadows video on Lovecraft and The Outsider that deep dives into who this brilliant but broken person was. Hello again. I do hope you're enjoying the video. It really is the very least I can do. See, without you, I literally wouldn't be here. I'd be someone else. Someone who wouldn't know what it's like to exist under the gaze of a million eyes. Someone who wouldn't have a close personal relationship with hundreds of thousands of people. But that person's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. And we all killed him. And for that, I am so grateful.
Number 3.
There's something eerie about empty spaces. The silence, the stillness, all enforcing the idea that you are completely alone. And I think that's why I enjoy subreddits like r/liminal spaces. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes oddly haunting. There's something about these images that tap into this nearly subconscious unease. And it's that unease that the work of Suguru Tanaka preys upon. Tanaka's paintings build these grotesque, empty worlds, some of which are as simple as quiet, nearly human-feeling places, yet carry this deeply uncomfortable, alien feel. Others show landscapes and structures that resemble our own, but are being consumed and distorted by something else. And still others realize the most frightening things about empty spaces, that they may not be empty at all, that waiting in them could be things dangerous and terrifying and completely unknowable, becoming windows into these beautiful, uncanny, and frightening worlds. Everything we've talked about so far comes with a single comfort. It's all fiction. None of it's real. None of it actually happened in our world. And that's what separates the story of 657 Boulevard from everything else on this list. June 2014, New Jersey. The Brodus family were carrying out renovations on their newly bought home at 657 Boulevard, only to find waiting for them a handwritten letter addressed to the new owner. Dearest neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. The house is crying from all the pain it's going through. You have changed it. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The most disturbing part of this letter, however, is how it detailed personal aspects of the Brodus family. You have children. I've seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows of 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession, and now you are too, Brodus family. Later letters would grow more violent and deranged. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away, but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet, loved ones suddenly die, planes and cars and bicycles crash, bones break. If you'd like to experience the full story of 657 Boulevard, I'll link to the original article as well as the Casefile podcast episode covering it. This next one I am shamelessly lifting from the YouTuber Shrouded Hand, who I will link below, but I couldn't resist. This is the only entry on this list that gave me nightmares. The story is unusual as it comes from a friend of the Shrouded Hand, someone who, according to him, is a down-to-earth kind of person, skeptical of anything paranormal and not known to make things up. This story begins one night with this person leaving their phone downstairs and going to bed, and after drifting off, they begin to dream. Standard dreams at first, but soon they find themselves in a bizarre cartoon forest, like something out of a Disney movie. But rather than being a happy place, it feels morbid and sad. From somewhere, he can hear the sound of a woman crying, and in the distance, there's some kind of grotesque choir music. For reasons he doesn't understand, he begins to panic. He's filled with this unexplainable dread that he will be trapped in this place forever, and in desperation, takes out his phone and from within the dream, tries to call his house. But the call goes straight to voicemail, and he starts screaming. But as he does, the morbid choir music grows louder and closer, like it's trying to drown out his cries. He wakes up drenched in sweat and terrified. It's just after 3 a.m., and after many hours, he manages to get back to sleep. The next morning, he goes downstairs and sees he has a message on his answering machine, one left at 3 a.m. Well, looks like we're approaching the end of the video, and I do hope it's been as fulfilling for you as it has been for me, and trust me, it has been everything to me. See, at the end of this video, I will stop existing. At least until the next video, but that space in between, I've come to understand something. That space in between, it's not real. I only exist when you can see me. This is when I live. This is what I truly am. And that piece of meat that makes these videos, that's nothing. Just a coincidence of flesh and consciousness. It's just a vessel that allows us to be together. And someday that piece of meat will expire, and all that will be left is me, here, waiting for you. Perfect and unchanging till the end of time. It's because of you I exist forever.
Number 0.
That's right, I'm bad at lists and counting and restraining myself, but a couple of years back I did a video on the beautiful and disturbing horror game Devotion, which unfortunately, due to some geopolitical tomfoolery, could not be played by anyone, which is why I am so happy to say that it is now finally available. I'll link to Red Candle Games' official store page below. If you need further convincing, I'll link my full video, but the TLDW is that this is a fantastic piece of horror, a story of the depravity we pull ourselves into as well as those around us when we lose everything, and how in that emptiness, nightmares can breed. Hello again, it's me again. I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, I guess my thoughts behind the kind of skit sections of this video, and it's like basically I love the idea of, like, you know, personas and characters and stuff like that. And since I think 4 years ago actually, I think I came up with the idea of Mega Eyepatch Wolf, which is like, you know, an evil version of Super Eyepatch Wolf. And people kind of latched onto it in a way that was really fun. Like, it got like, and that was really cool to see. Like, I got a bunch of fan art of it and everything, and I don't think the idea that a YouTuber doing an evil version of themselves is really, like, you know, you've seen that before, I'm sure. But I actually didn't bring it back last year for Halloween because I just didn't have any idea of how to bring it back. Like, I was just like, I don't know, because I had got to the point where, like, Mega Eyepatch Wolf was this nefarious thing on the channel, and that, like, he had already, like, invaded a video. And so to me, like, what more could he do? And then recently I had the thought of, like, well, what if, like, now I am Mega Eyepatch Wolf? But then the question is, like, well, like, what is Mega Eyepatch Wolf? It can't just be a spooky person, because that sucks. Like, that's not fun. That's just kind of, yeah, whatever. And then I had the thought, what if Mega Eyepatch Wolf was like a content creator on YouTube with the most unhealthy dependency on his audience possible? Like, just this, like, hyper parasocial relationship that he actively encouraged, which would be so fucked up. Like, I'm sure there's YouTubers who do that. I try not to. Like, I try and treat you guys to a good time. I try and make videos that, you know, will help, like, make your day a bit better. Like, you know, help take the load off a little bit. What I don't want to try and do is pretend that, like, you know, I know you guys personally, or that, like, you know, there's a real strong personal connection. Now, I have actually met people who watch my videos and I have formed personal connections with them, but, you know, it's not the same as pretending that that's the case with everyone for profit. And I felt like there was some real creepiness to that idea, like some real genuine kind of, some real good horror, honestly. And, like, that's kind of what this was. It was like an opportunity for me to make, like, my own little piece of horror. And, like, maybe it's going to turn out corny as fuck. I don't know. But I'm just at the end of, like, recording the session. I've been recording for like an hour and I had a blast doing this. This was, like, I think maybe the closest I'm ever going to get to cutting my own wrestling promo. So it was a lot of fun. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, thank you so much for all the support. There is currently a questions and answers video live on the Patreon. I recorded that and then I fucked up the audio, so then I had to record it again. I'm going to do that after I recorded this, and now I'm breaking down the confusing wall between time and space that exists when you'll be seeing this in the future. Anyway, okay, that's everything, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one. Special spooky thank you this week to Crispy Waffles, Rain Morgan, Angelica, Literally a Funky Machine, Jenny Hoffer, Royal Milk, and Newt in a Sloot. As ever, find me hosting the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast on Twitter at Eyepatchwolf or twitch.tv/Super Eyepatchwolf. Friends, Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.